back. I mean, it's at least,
Way
oh,
back.
way back. It's at least, I don't know, 10 years or more. And oh, is that Sharon?
Hey, Sharon, come say hi to Gail. She just woke up.
Hello, Sharon. Good
It's
morning.
Gail.
Yeah, how are you?
Hi, my friend. How are you? How are your lovely boys?
Good to see
The
you.
boys.
You
They're
too.
good. The boys are good.
Good, good, good. Tall and
Oh,
smart. And
16 years old is 6 foot tall.
Yeah,
He's huge.
driving.
He's driving.
oh, geez. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
stay
Wow,
away
wow,
from
wow.
Erie. Stay away from Erie. Don't drive to Erie.
Well, we have people here who are from Uganda and Liberia and Malawi and Kenya, and
Wonderful.
they're just so excited. I know they're going to be very inspired to hear from you, Patrick, and it's good to see you, Sharon.
So,
Say hi to everyone.
hi.
Well,
Hi, everyone.
um, anyways, it's just been so long and I haven't seen you in a while, and I'm so happy to see you, and you're just so smart and so kind and always so generous, both of you, your whole family. And I've just enjoyed having our paths cross. And sometimes they cross in which we spend more time together, other times some distance goes between. But as I learned by being someone who was in Uganda quite a bit, that the idea of connection and family for people from East Africa is just always there. Nobody ever gives up on those connections. People are always there for one another, no matter how much time passes. And it's a beautiful, beautiful cultural gift, especially at this time for me to remember that the people that I meet who are from East Africa never forget me, ever. So thank you for being a part of this. And everyone, I'm sure, has read your bio. I'm just going to quickly say that you have an incredible personal story, and what it was like for you as a child in East Africa and in Uganda, and then coming to the U.S. and you're an accomplished veterinarian. You have 2 businesses, amazing family. I don't even know where to begin, but we're going to ask you a few questions, and I know that the people here are going to want to hear more from you and be inspired by you and in your book and your journey. And I'll stop talking. Thank you for being here. Is there anything you want to just say at first to introduce yourself?
I feel home with the people, first with you. You've been like family, and we knew each other before you started the documentaries, and then coincidentally you started working on projects in my home country. It was just such a beautiful coincidence, and we've loved you since then. So all the hard work and amazing things you've done with the girls in Changwali and everything, which, by the way, you connect Uganda, and the girls you're working with connect us to the Rwandese ethnic, immigration, which is part of my story. So you, in whatever time we've known each other, you've combined all my story into some of your work. So I feel home. And when you
Yeah.
mention people from Africa, East Africa, I'm at home. It's just like having a conversation with my, family. So I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I guess we'll spend a little bit of time asking you some questions. It's very informal. And then I know that the people here who we call our believers, they're going to want to ask you a question about who you are, what you do, and what your life has been like. And that's how we'll go. It'll be a conversation. And
Absolutely.
I first just wanted to start off, if it's okay if I go first, Avi. Um, many of the people here are starting projects, right, in their communities. They're social change makers. They're starting initiatives. They're doing amazing, amazing work. And they are, in addition to, running the programs, they're trying to tell their stories to raise money, right? So telling a story to someone who's going to possibly give you a donation is something that's always on their mind. And you are an author and you're a storyteller. You have a book and you talk about writing. Can you just say something about, like, how someone can tell their story in 200 words or less, because that's what applications ask for? What are some pieces of advice that you give as someone from maybe similar backgrounds of telling a story that's authentic, but isn't also so caught up in, being overly dramatic, let's say, because you only have just a little bit of space.
Right.
How would you advise that?
Well, first of all, Africans are storytellers. Tellers. That's one. Second, if you think about how Obama became president, he first put a book out, and then they knew him. If you want people to know you, to contribute to your cause and be successful, tell a story that is very authentic to what you are, what you want to be, and what inspired you to be who you are. It is one, you become immortal. One, you know, time passes, you may be gone, but that becomes your legendary, part of immortal. Immortal, like you never die. In my head, that's what I think. The second thing about writing your story is advertisement. uh, Miss Girl and I live in the same, area, but there are so many clients that come to me because they read the story online. I've never known them. They don't see the other ad. They just come because they say, "Oh, we read your story. We heard about it from somebody." Uh, that's why you should write your story. And you could just write a blog. You could write just a Facebook thing. You could just write anything simple, or you could just get it self-published anymore. It's not complicated. You don't pay a penny to get it self-published, and I can always help you whenever you reach out to me. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. So Avi, you have a question?
Yes, Patrick, great to be connected, and thanks for being here again. I think in the same realm of storytelling, I want to go a bit deeper into this idea of telling a personal story or the story of self and the story of the community. It seems like a lot of your work has been balancing the two. And one of the questions that we get a lot is how do you find a balance between telling your story, me as an individual, and then me as my community that I'm representing in either the book that you're writing or the Facebook post or the self-publishing that you just mentioned. How do you find that balance?
One word: authenticity. If you're authentic, people. I was watching Warren Buffett, the billionaire. Some of you know him. There's one comment he made. He said one of the keys to being successful is no one wants to come to a grouchy, grumpy person or people with, who are not, approachable. And if you're authentic and you're a good person, you put out your story about what you do, what made you do that, and what you want to do after you get momentum. Everybody wants to support an underdog, but once I'm not an underdog anymore, so I got a lot of support as an underdog. That's because of my story. In the middle of my life, I was not an underdog, but people were attracted to what I was doing with my community back in Uganda, which Miss Gail Nezo knows about. Now, it's not because I'm an underdog. It's not because of what I'm doing back in Africa. It is because of the authenticity and what I've maintained to say who I was when I was young. And I'm still the same, whether I'm treating someone's pet, whether I'm doing business. You just want to be authentic and learn as you go. Some people are born with it, others have to learn. So put your story out for who you are and what made you want to be who you are and what inspired you. For me, was grandfather, but part of me was to fight for the family of a small group of my mom and dad's children, but on a bigger picture, the Tutsi culture who were underdogs since I was a kid. And then after I got here, I was to fight for the family to feed and put them in school. Now it's the story to help those people still, but employ people in Colorado, pay taxes, participate in political activities, join groups like this, support anything that anyone is doing that we can afford. So really, that's what you do.
Thank you,
Wow.
Pat.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us more about the work that you're doing in Uganda and Rwanda?
Yeah, thank you. We don't have much we do in Rwanda because we have cousins and distant relatives, but in Uganda, we have, well, first of all, the business side, we have, because one of the reasons I wanted to be here is to show that anyone can do things, small, big, medium. we have uh, built rental houses, 5 big rental houses, and we chose the bigger ones for people who can afford them. Usually these are high profile. One of them is rented by the Queen of Uganda, the Central Region's sister. So that's a good house. And others are rented by people who cannot afford the regular rental. So they pay a certain kind of fee with modest, income. They're just 5. They're not many. Each of them has 8 units. But really, for me, where my heart is, my niece, who just posted something on Facebook, she helps young women who are married off when they're young because of traditional, bad cultural beliefs. And she educates them, sometimes fights for them legally to not be to not allow arranged marriages. Some of them are married off when they are 14, 13, out of without their willingness. So she does that, and I support her on the side without being the main person involved, because I kind of like to stay in the shadows so that I could spend more time at work and maybe do a little donation there and here. And that's what we do in Uganda. And of course, paying for my family's kids, my mom's children and her grandchildren and everybody. They have been successful, graduated out of college. Others are entrepreneurs, like we're trying to do, and they have done so well, and I'm proud of them.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. You are very, very generous with your wisdom and your time and your ideas. And I just know that about you. You're very humble as well. Just related to what you were talking about, there's so many people that we meet and they want, they're so passionate and they want to make change. And let's say in Uganda, in East Africa, in all of the countries represented here. And sometimes it just feels to me that there's this wearing down. It's just such hard work, right? And we talk about resilience, but I don't think I'm the right kind of person to talk about resilience because I'm living a different kind of life, right? And when there's so many people, there's so many young girls, right, that are they're missing opportunities, right? Or there's so many people who are getting unnecessarily sick, or there's so many orphans, so many young children. I mean, do you ever have a sense of, oh my gosh, where to even start? The problems are just so mounting. And how do you work with that sense of gotta stick with it?
It is difficult, and Gail, you are just so humble. Your life here deals with resilience, because I don't know how comfortable it is to sit in a minivan to Changwali in those roads and you still go back anyway. So I think you're resilient, and what you do with your own time and money and effort, it is amazing. We're not, no one is more resilient than you. But yes, starting off, for almost 16 years, I started helping my family when I was 16. As soon as I left the home, it was a burden. Let me just kind of use that bad word, burden, but almost had no choice because we were homeless. So what happened is I started working and doing school, and whatever money I got for a school project, well, instead of taking a taxi to go somewhere, I would actually walk that distance so I could just save money and buy them, beans and posho. So what happened when I got a better job? Well, I kept giving everything I had to the point where it was actually affecting my health, because I had that kind of sympathy and understanding that they need more than I do. Well, so then when I got married to my beautiful wife, Sharon, that you just saw, and we had children, she has the beautiful heart. She has her family as well. We take care of all of them. She said, if you keep doing that, where we were sending everything to help people, we are all going to go down, and you can't raise anyone if you are down. That was a light bulb that went off. So we started balancing it. It is such a difficult situation if you have to choose someone who's in the hospital and they need basic fluids for malaria, and someone who has a little kiosk and they're asking you $500 to start a little business, but you have $1,000 probably that you may not need in the next couple months. So do you give all the 1,000? Do you split it up? So what I decided was to see priority, and we do most of this, but now we choose to focus on medical care because it's hard when someone dies because you are trying to save the money, some of it that you have. As far as business is concerned, we start some business for people because they're really easy for us. Starting a business here, I have to borrow from the bank a lot of money, which is a normal amount of money. Back at home, it doesn't take much for a young person to start like a little refrigerator that they put somewhere and put in some drinks and have little snacks for people to stop by and buy. That's something you could easily fund. We find two problems with that. One, they get comfortable and they don't have the spirit of work and sacrifice as long as they start making tiny little profit. I'll give you an example. We get discouraged if you start something like that. And I'm talking about my own family. I'm not picking on anyone else. We start something and you call and say, hey, are you at your little shop? And they're not there, and it's already 11 a.m. in the morning when they're supposed to be there at 8. And my job, if I'm supposed to be there at 8, I'm there at 8. If I have work, I'm not going to leave until 9 p.m. So they kind of have some of these flaws that fail them. I also have some that you give them one little starting point and they just make good use of it and they boom. So it can go both ways. But the balancing on who you should give or not is a tough situation. So we've decided to reduce on the business help and support on the medical help because it's such a tough situation if someone would die because you had some money and you didn't give it to them.
Right. Oh my gosh, right. It is hard. And I think it does take some trial and error. And, but I do think that the work ethic is very hard, but then there's all kinds of things that press upon us every day.
Yeah.
So many different choices. It's very, very challenging. And it's something that I'm always learning about. Abby, do you want to ask a question or do we want to open it up for discussion?
I'm sure people have a lot of questions. I want to see if there's someone who wants to jump in right away, especially based on what Patrick shared. I know Gail and I have like 5 or 6 more questions, but
and Patrick may have something else to say.
Yeah. And so before you ask me questions, everything I've said, we have been successful. We've been lucky. Luck comes with hard work. My wife and I actually here in the United States, and I'm going to say this so people understand that it's not just Africa or third world or young or something. Gail knows I own 2 veterinary hospitals. I own a grooming shop. My wife owns a barber shop. So we own 4 businesses here. We own a commercial real estate, but I can tell you 3 of those or 2 of those every day is a struggle, and you just have to push things no matter how hard they are. So when you ask me questions, yes, I've been lucky. We have the things, but things have to be pushed, long hours, hard work, sacrifice. And that's all I wanted to put out. So that you don't think that, once you get going, things are smooth. Now I'm open to questions.
Absolutely. You are definitely someone I have witnessed hardworking, sacrificing, doing without, delaying gratification, right? You got to delay something and wait. And it's hard. It's very hard. Yeah. But having a partner like Sharon, I'm sure is very inspiring.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's see. Anyone want to jump in and come off mute and say something that, talk with Patrick and us?
And you can use the raise hand function if that's easier as well to ask questions.
Mm-hmm. Hello, let's see. I think I saw Rogers. Are you still there? Rogers is working in
Yes,
healthcare. Yeah. Rogers,
yes, I'm here.
hello, how are you? I haven't seen you in some time.
I'm good. It's been a while, work, but I'm glad I'm here today.
Would you like to say and ask a question or just tell Patrick a little bit about the work you're doing?
Yeah, sure. I'm based in Kenya. I run a youth-led organization working with young people living with HIV and disability. And our aim is to reduce stigma associated with HIV and disability among young people. So we have different programs. We have program on reproductive health, mental health, economic empowerment, and advocacy. I'm glad to meet you, Patrick, and I'm really learning a lot because most of the time we do share our stories. And there's a story that there's a question that Gail asked because we are the same people because we're working for organization and I'm also the same person. And being that you talked of authenticity, being you, as Rogers being myself and in a part of Activate Action also being myself. So somehow it's really difficult, but I just want to know in case when you're sharing a story, how do you ask in a story? Because mostly our stories being that we are non-profit and we have philanthropy, we do ask. Our story basically we are doing stories to share what we're doing, the impact that we're creating, and also maybe get supporters. How do we ask within a story? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Roger, it's such a pleasure meeting you. I'm very proud of you. How old are you? This is not a question I shouldn't be asking, but how old are you?
I'm 31.
It's amazing how young
quite
you are,
old.
and the mindset and what you're doing. I'm very proud, really proud. So you have 7 years to do this. So don't rush, don't worry. So how do you ask for support, and how do you also balance holding an organization like yours? What I can tell you is I didn't mention that one of the things that I learned is I'm not good at running a nonprofit organization. My skill is to be the machine and work behind the scenes and support, because it's not easy what you guys do. It's really, really difficult. I figured if my niece does that, if someone does something behind the scenes, I could contribute. I may not be the right person to tell you how to support, but through natural normal wisdom is there's a saying for those who believe in God or the Bible that God helps those who help themselves. If I'm gonna donate to you, I want to know that on the side, are you doing something to put into the work that you want other people to help you? If I'm trying to, let's just equate business and a nonprofit. If I want to, every time I go to the bank to borrow money to do something, the bank asks me, well, what do you have to put in so we could see your effort and trust that you are invested in, and before we give you our money. For a nonprofit, if possible, again, I'm just talking, but I'm not the expert, is for me, if I'm gonna send a donation or something, I wanna know that if it's not taking 100% of your time, maybe 80% of your time, can you get a little part-time job, 20%, to actually put into the organization so I know that I'm not working harder for the organization to make money to help you than you who started it, because your heart in that part is bigger than mine. My advice, and for people who I like to support, I want to see that they are working hard instead of help me. And forgive me, I'm a little biased because the African culture, I'm going to be honest here, they are just beggars. World Bank, they beg money from these other countries and everything. Our own families, they have weddings that they don't have to start having. I'm just gonna be honest because you guys are brothers and sisters. You don't need a wedding if you can't fund most of it or all of it. Even here in Colorado, Ugandans have a wedding, they start a wedding, which you could go to a local little restaurant and have your wedding and make it simple for what you can afford. They hold weddings, big budget weddings without any funds from themselves and want donation. If we break that culture and you do a little part-time job, and jobs are really hard in Uganda or Kenya. Half of my siblings don't have a job, but if you show that you actually make an effort, a lot of people will support you. I will donate $50 to you if I know that Joseph is doing something and he wants to really help that organization. I think for me, that's what I would want to see.
That's so good. Thank you. I mean, I think that idea of the work ethic is something that really needs to be repeated. And it's one thing for me to talk about it. It's a totally different thing for you to talk about it. And,
Yes.
and it's really good to hear that. I think we have another question from Jimmy Kosa. Hi.
And Jimmy sent me his questions
Oh.
to ask. Jimmy, would you like to try to ask your questions, or shall I go ahead and ask?
It's okay, let me try that. Okay.
Go for it, Jimmy.
Yeah, this is Kosa Jimmy from Uganda. I'm talking with Peter Kalenzi, and I was very happy to learn that he also comes from Uganda.
Yes.
And going right away to my questions. My first question is, you emphasized about the authentic, you emphasized the authentic story. What do you, by simple words, mean by an authentic story? And question number 2, I just a little curious, wanted to learn why you traveled to the US. And thirdly, I have not got the chance actually to go through your book, Tears Run Dry. I have heard most people who have gone through the book. I enjoyed reading their comments. And I don't know, in some few minutes, could you help me and just maybe highlight for me a few items that are in the book? And thank you.
Oh, well, so nice to meet you, Jimmy. Well, so go ahead, Abby.
I think there was an echo. All good.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right, so I'm so happy to meet you again. I feel at home talking to you. Jimmy, I feel like I'm talking to my little brother or nephew. I'm also, like Gail said, it's different for Miss Gail Nelson to be blunt, because it could look different. I could be blunt. I have lived that life. I know everything that we go through. I know our culture, but that was just a follow-up on what I was saying earlier. But for Jimmy, my story is how I came to the United States. I had finished my education through Uganda, and there was schools that you may not even hear about. One of them was Kampala High. It was a ghetto school where kids would just, be rambunctious. They would steal things from people and the neighbors, and they would fight the police. And luckily, I got through that school, and I had just enough grace to go to vet school. Which, by the way, the vet school was, I got the scholarship not because I was a straight A student. My children are straight A students. I'm not that lucky. I was a good student, but what made it work is that resilience, hard work, knowing what you want. I knew that if I didn't work hard to get the grades, I won't make it to the university, and then I won't get the funds to do a private sponsorship. So I read during the day, at night, when I was walking, everything, just to get the grades. So I was lucky and got in. When I finished, I had, it's not gonna take long. I had a job with a little government job, but they pushed you some in the countryside. My first paycheck was not enough to pay rent or find out enough food for mom and my siblings. So we were homeless, even with the government job as a doctor in medicine. So I thought either I'm gonna go into trade or do something. But a thought came, I said, if I'm going to struggle to do something good, and this is something you should also probably start thinking about, don't ever count yourself low, no matter what situation you are. So in my head, I told myself, if I'm going to struggle for something better to get my family out of homeless, I'm going to find the best, bigger place where they practice veterinary medicine like humans and get paid well. But at the back of my head, I thought, well, it's not going to work. USA it's so hard to get a visa, as most of you know. My second place was Japan, maybe Germany or Norway. But I said, as you guys should start thinking, you always try the best option you have, give it 100% you have. If it doesn't work, I'd adjust and recalculate. So I went to I got all the documents that I needed. Surprisingly, I don't know for what reason, they gave me a visa for 3 months. And within 3 months, I almost couldn't get enough money for the ticket to fly here because I sold everything I had. Like, those plastic basins and one thin inch mattress. Somehow I borrowed money from distant relatives. I got enough to get here. It's a long story, but when I got here, I was doing casual labor jobs. I was delivering newspapers, cleaning houses and everything. Going back to what I was saying is you do not ever count yourself out. After 3 years, I figured, I'm a doctor of veterinary medicine. I don't care just because it's America. I'm going to challenge this and see if I could. Well, I did it anyway. Well, then after a few years, I thought, well, if people here have businesses, veterinary medicine, why can't I do it? In your head, whoever does something, believe that you could do it too and die trying. But that's the first story. That's how I got here. The other story is, remind me again what the question? I'm sorry.
The second question was about your book, Tears Run Dry.
Yeah. Oh, well, go ahead.
The book.
What about the book?
I think maybe that he was mentioning that he is interested in it and just like, a little bit about how it came about, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. First of all, I will we come to Uganda, it's once every couple of years. We've been there. If I ever do that, I'll get your connection through Abby or Gail, and I could bring you a copy. But what made me write the book was the story of my grandfather, who had been always an underdog. And I wanted to know the world to know that he was an amazing person and we are not underdogs. So I wrote a story about me and what inspired me to be. And it became his story and my story and my kid's story. So that's why I wrote it. And it's been amazing. Someone's writing a screenplay about it. So we'll see.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. Jimmy, it's so good to see you. Thank you for all that you're doing and showing up. And I hope that you and Patrick can speak again. I'm wondering if we can go on and and see if Haley would like to ask her question. Is that okay? All right.
It's okay, please. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Haley.
Hi. So I am calling from Liberia, where I started a nonprofit for early child care and education, training community members to work with kids in a positive, safe, respectful manner, all of those things in short. But as someone like yourself who has lived in multiple cultures and practices to assimilate to these cultures and, help where you can, you go back to Uganda and you support people there. You mentioned a culture of begging. And I'm just curious if you can maybe talk to me a little bit about how do you handle that when you know that the relative wealth is different, but you are there and you are doing what you can to help and you don't want to dismiss anyone's claims. So how do you kind of handle that situation?
So, and if the word begging, it comes with a bad connotation, but one of the things that I know is some Ugandans, and I'm going to talk about an area that I know, Uganda, and maybe Colorado. There are so many wealthy Ugandans. It's amazing the middle class in Uganda that could do so much. The heart and the spirit of volunteerism is not there. It used to be there several years ago, and I'm talking about, before I was born. I'm gonna be 15 2 days, but it used to be there where people used to be, they would gather and clear the well where people got water. They used to gather and clear the streets where people walk. Not anymore. There's so much wealthy people, middle class, that if you kind of valued them, they will not be far different from the middle class here. What's not there is the spirit of giving. I think I have seen here in America people with modest to low income. Whenever there is need or crisis, or they know, they will give their clothes, they will give their $5. People here volunteer at the library, they'll volunteer at a community place. That it's different. And I'm saying this bluntly because I'm Ugandan, so I could just say that. What you could do in any other place is education. Education that says, listen, we get donations from people who don't even know the plight of these people that we're trying to help, which is fine. But if you look deeper into it, you want to help ourselves so that other people can see us, support ourselves. It goes back to what I was saying. God helps those who help themselves. If you're not, if they're not religious, you don't say that. Just say, we have this organization. It's a local organization. I'm supporting these children. And you could do this through community work where you hold little meetings. It doesn't matter if it's one person or two. You could join, whether you're Christian or not. You can go to church just to ask for one little audience to listen. You could do the local council meetings and say, can I get 3 minutes? Education, education, education. Because if I get, let's say, $100 from the United States, maybe $50 from Canada, but maybe in Uganda or wherever you are, you get another $50. That's better than $0 from that area. So what you do, instead of maybe saying begging, it is just education and say there is a need. And you could use my example. If someone had donated to me a little fee when I was young, I would have been, but it would have been much easier for my life. I wouldn't have had probably polio. I wouldn't have been kidnapped. I wouldn't have been in a coma. I was just lucky to survive. But those things happen just because the local population kind of sits back and they expect help from the first world, which is okay. But I think education for me is what I would suggest.
Wow, that's just so interesting. I didn't really, think about that in the sense of like how the spirit of giving also comes from those who might seem that they can't give, but it's the spirit, and that the spirit of giving helps feed into the resilience and into the hard work. And it's all this microcosm. It's not just one thing. It's not just I have an idea and I'm working hard, but it's also I'm in alignment with people who want to appreciate that, right? And they don't feel entitled, let's say, right? And yeah, that's just wow, that's just so interesting. There's a comment in here in the chat from Marion. It's true, the dependency syndrome is evident and not healthy, but truth be told, most people have no idea where some of these resources they need, where to get them to transform their lives. I think that's the point there. Maybe you can read it, but what's your sense there when you talk about education? Is it education in terms of like primary, secondary, university, or is it education about networking?
Education about networking. And that question is kind of from what I read it. It's just kind of two. Dependency syndrome is there, but how can you what did they say? Well, how can you get with what I was talking about education is most people have the means. They don't know how important, how it fulfills your life if you just give someone to help somebody, a kid get to school. They may not know, but if you have a chance to educate them, it's not through the school system. It's through community work, and it's through small meetings. Again, me being African, I'm gonna be blunt. A lot of times, most Africans are gonna come when you have food, drinks, a party. Well, you don't want to burn all the money or the funds you have for the organization, but I feel like if you take advantage of other gatherings, church gatherings, political local meetings that are not, big, no campaigns, those are dangerous. You want to do small, and you can walk house to house and hand out pamphlets and say, listen, this is our community. We're not going to get saviors from United States or Canada or something, but this boy or girl needs a wheelchair. I need only 400 Ugandan shillings, and I will be very, very pleased to announce you as part of the reason this boy can actually stroll around and go to school or have a normal life. I think it's not school. You're not going to learn that in school. You're going to or educate them in school. You're going to just find places where you connect with one person. I'll give you an example. When people here want to, want votes, they have meetings, but they also knock at your door because they know really they want those votes. So you should act like a politician who wants votes, except your cause is actually more important and it's life-changing. They'll say no, they'll yell at you, but your cause is more important than someone getting votes to be elected as a member of parliament. So you can do it.
Yeah, so inspirational, so inspirational. And you see this follow-up question from Marion in the chat?
I missed it, but
what happened what was the turning point for you when you said, I'm going to stop being a nonprofit, stop asking for things and start creating, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody has some, I have some flaws. I'm an introvert. This is a stage. I love this. I will go talk about my book in Rotary clubs and graduations. At my job, I'm on stage. I have this thing that if it's purpose, it's on. I'm excited, I'm happy and everything. But to have to go talk to people individually or talk to them about the organization, I am not good at it. So what turned the point for me, I figured if I spend more time at work, which I'm blessed with, I have been lucky to do good with my job, I could create more funds for my family, but also have a little bit to donate rather than me spend. So if I go to work, I'll make some amount of money, right? I'll take maybe 10% of that and, donate. If I try to go and do a charitable organization and look for funds, I may not gather that 10%. So I figured my skills and my way is be the machine, have my niece and other people and you guys do the connection with humans. And I like to be behind the scenes and, support, because I'm not good at going to places. And I'll tell you why I'm not good. I have always ever not got help from anyone. And I have a problem with the African dependency, and it just makes me feel uncomfortable to approach people, even though it's for a good cause. It's just a flaw. Don't judge yourself, because what you do is not helping you, it's helping other people. But that's my personal flaw. I am not good at that.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a certain, it's interesting, right? To be, this mindset of being an entrepreneur and some of it being dependent on others to help your business growing, and you just being self-dependent, right, to make the business grow. And it's I don't know, there's no really any easy answer.
But Gail, can I follow up on that too?
Yeah.
So there is also a little problem that we were helping somebody, and for people who know that we sort of do okay, they think that when you have a good job or have some little funds, there's a feeling that, well, why can't you fund all of it, which is complicated. So when you have some success and you are trying to run an organization, there might be a little conflict of interest where they think, are you using that to travel, part of it for your business? Why can't you fund all of it? Why are you asking when you have money? So it becomes different for me in my place with all the enterprises that I have to say, hey, I do have personal problems. I have family, I have everything, but can I get $50 to put onto this, organization? So for me, it's a little bit of a challenge because of perception. Yeah.
Right. And the perception sometimes, of just, oh, well, this is an American, so they must blah, blah, blah. I mean, it is hard. There's so many parts of the context, and it's so fascinating. There's a question in the chat from Beatrice. In the execution of your activities and objectives, what's the biggest disappointment that you've ever encountered along the way? And then how did you overcome it? That's a great question.
That's a good question. Not fitting in and not to be trusted and fight to fit in. And it all places I've been. My difficult challenges were both in Uganda and the United States. In Uganda, if you read my story, I'm Ugandan second generation by birth. By constitution, I'm way over Ugandan. I'm just Ugandan. My dad was born there. But just because we were Rwandese ethnic group, I was not wanted. We were derogatory terms used. We were just, set back all the time until the new regime. I was disappointed because I just didn't understand as a child why I was born here and they have to talk to me like that, or they don't want you. That's a whole long story. It's in the book. When I moved here, Boulder County is Caucasian, 95% Caucasian, and there's not many African, Americans even, or Africans. So when you graduate, well, I was doing the normal casual labor job, accepted, believed that I can clean a house, that I could deliver newspapers, no problem. As soon as I got a license, I started working for somebody, and clients would ask for the other doctor. And if they didn't know I was going to see them, the next visit, they'll be like, can I see the other doctor? So I was not accepted or believed. Well, a few years raw, the ones that I got a chance to work with, they knew how good I am. I kicked butt, and they started following me without me asking them. And I generated a bunch of clients, and I doubled the clientele than my former boss. We had one hospital, I left, built 2 hospitals, and another. I don't even have to prove anything. I used to wear a tie. I don't need to wear a tie. The reputation just does itself. So my disappointments were being accepted. I didn't cry about it. I had to prove it. I had to do a good job, charge honestly, do excellent. And that's what I tell my children. Both my boys were born here. They're Boulder, Colorado kids. They probably would not survive in Africa for like a week without us. But what I tell them is, and this is nothing that I worry about. Again, I've overcome a lot of this, but I prepare them and say, hey, if you have the same skills and you have the same abilities as another person of the majority group, don't worry. Outperform them, not even by the brain. Work 30 minutes longer. Stay at work. Go to work a little earlier. Don't feed the stereotype where you get to work late. Clean the house a little bit more. Everyone is going to come to you regardless of who you are. So for me, the disappointments, I found a way to beat it by working hard and being honest and charging fairly fine and being there. And yeah, and that's all.
Yeah, wow. Yes, you did. And just kept showing up and saying the person that I am is going to come through. It's the way that I work. My value systems are going to come through. Even though you faced racism, like, in both places, really.
Yeah.
But you just said the who I am, hopefully the value of who I am, just got to stick with that and not change my core, because that's what you ultimately are going to want people to see. Oh my gosh. Any other last questions from other people? You're just so inspiring. Of course, I would love for this conversation to go on longer, but we have just about 5 minutes left. Anything else you want to say, or do you want, can people reach out to you separately at your website, or Abby? Anything else?
Oh, from me or for
Yeah.
Abby? No, from me.
For you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I could say there's nothing more inspiring than, well, so first of all, what I am is part of what grandfather told me I was. If you read my story, and I'll share the books with you guys, what I can tell you, what I already told you, is do not ever underestimate your abilities, no matter what circumstance you are. There's a time I didn't have shoes. Well, now I have a car. But I didn't think I am that low and I'll never do it. Not mostly because of my courage and wisdom. Part of it was my grandfather telling me that no matter who you think people tell you are, whatever they perceive you, we are important people of great wisdom, and we are good at being resilient, and we will be fine. He never got to that point where he was amazing, but the small community he led, he was a dominant figure. Even when we were servants, but as a servant, people were more drawn to him than than his boss. So my words to you guys is, no matter what circumstances you are, no matter what organization you are, if you just get like 1 shilling or something to help somebody, tell yourself, this is just the beginning. I'm going to be 50. I'm telling myself, I'm just getting warmed up to more stuff. So I have faith in you. Reach out to me. Please share, Abby, share my email with these wonderful people anytime. If I'm in Uganda and you want to come and meet, I'll be so thrilled to show you and, have fun.
Oh my gosh, such a gift. And how about if we take a group photo? What do you think? Yes. Clap, 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 clap for Patrick and for everybody. And we could take a screenshot of a group photo and share it on our social media.
Yes.
Yep. So
Okay.
we're gonna do this in a cool way. We're gonna ask everyone, if possible, and I know internet can be challenging sometimes, but turn on your camera for just 3 seconds, and I'll snap a quick photo. So we need 5 seconds to fix yourselves and.
How do I do that? I don't know. I'm computer challenged. My kids.
Oh, you're all set. You're all set.
You're good.
Patrick.
You're on.
You're
Okay,
good.
good.
And yeah, anyone else that wants to be on camera? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Awesome. Okay, let me do one more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Right,
Really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
We have a round of applause for Patrick. Yay. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being here and asking your questions and listening. And it's always just such a great thing to have at these convenings. Blessings to all of you. Be well.
Stay in touch.
Okay.